Welcome to Pacioli 2000's Video Tutor. This will prepare you to use the most remarkable accounting software package on the market, Pacioli 2000. This video cassette contains 3 individual programs. In the first, we'll review basic accounting principles that you may later apply to Pacioli 2000 or any other manual or computerized accounting system. In the second program, we'll explain the major functions of Pacioli 2000 to get you up and running quickly. In the third program, we'll discuss how to use MS-DOS in our day-to-day activities. Now, each program is divided into chapters. Note the counter on your VCR as we move to each chapter. Then, if you need to reference a particular segment, you can do so quickly. Let's get started. In this program, we're going to learn many of the terms and concepts associated with good accounting practices. So sit back and enjoy as we demystify the art of accounting. Have you ever wondered why we have accounting? The word accounting has the same root as the word counting. What we usually count in accounting is money. This information helps those responsible for financial decisions plan for the future and control the day-to-day financial activities of the home or business. Also, the data accounting provides can be used by these financial managers to provide information to outside agencies such as the government, bankers, investors, or to the general public. Every day, financial managers are faced with important decisions. Which new product line is selling best? Is there money available for new facilities? Is a bank loan necessary? Are there enough employees to service the new customers? In a home, the money manager might need to know if expenditures match the budget. Is the home financial position strong enough for the banker to make a new car loan? Answers to these questions can be provided by good accounting information. So, accounting provides financial information to assist in decision-making. Now let's look at the steps in good accounting. Accounting follows a very simple 3-step system for providing information. The first step is to record every financial activity or transaction. This part usually begins with a business form, such as an invoice, a purchase order, etc. Then the accountant must classify the transaction by asking questions such as, is money coming in or is money going out? Where did the money come from? Where is the money going? Finally, accounting summarizes and reports all the information on transactions over a certain time period. As we move into our next chapter, we'll begin to examine how the 3 steps in good accounting are practiced. To learn accounting, we must first understand the balance sheet. The single most important report that accounting provides to the financial manager is the balance sheet. This report shows the relationship between assets, which are the property and rights of a business, liabilities, which are those debts and obligations to creditors, and capital, also called equity, which are the obligation and debt to its owners. Some examples of assets are cash, accounts receivable, that is, money owed to the business, office equipment, buildings, cars, and inventory. Examples of liabilities include accounts payable, that is, money the business owes to someone else, notes payable, such as formal loans, and taxes owed. Capital includes money that a business receives from owners and money produced by the business called profit. These three items are put together into an equation or formula that's called the accounting equation. Simply put, this equation states that assets minus liabilities leaves capital. Or, turned around, assets equal liabilities plus capital. You can imagine the assets on one side of a scale and the liabilities and capital on the other side. When all of your accounting data is correct, these two sides of the scale balance. This is often reflected in the form of a large T. On the left side of the T are the assets, and on the right side are the liabilities and the capital. The title of this T diagram is the balance sheet. Of course, listing the dollar amount of our assets on the left side of the T chart and listing the dollar amount of our liabilities and capital on the right side of our T chart gives little information. It's better to break down our assets, liabilities, and capital into more specific and more identifiable amounts. The more of these identifiable amounts we have, the better our accounting assists us. For example, $30,000 in liabilities could be categorized under individual headings. Our liabilities might include a bank loan of $5,000, accounts payable of $20,000, and taxes owed of $5,000. Good accounting allows for these smaller, more identifiable groupings, which are called accounts. We can often represent these individual accounts by smaller t's, which gives rise to the often used name T accounts. These T accounts have three parts: a title, a left side called the debit side, and a right side called the credit side. If the T account represents an asset account, say a checking account, then the T account would rest on the left side of the balance sheet where all assets sit. On the other side of the balance sheet, the opposite applies. T accounts that show liabilities or capital rest on the right side of the balance sheet. Now, anytime we use money, we debit an account. Another way to look at this is a debit is where money is going to be used in our business. So, we can think of debits as uses of money. Credits are the sources of money, or where our money comes from. Every financial transaction has a use and a source, and every financial transaction has a debit and a credit. Let's look at an example. Suppose we decide to invest $10,000 to open a restaurant. The first thing we do is deposit the $10,000 into a checking account. The checking account is a place the money is going to, so we debit the checking account. That is, we place the $10,000 on the debit side of the checking account T. The money came from our capital investment, so we credit the owner's capital account with $10,000. This means place the corresponding $10,000 credit on the right side of the owner's capital account T. Now, if we buy $5,000 worth of furniture, the $5,000 is going into furniture. So we debit our furniture account and asset account. The source of the money was our checking account, so we credit our checking account. If we decide to borrow another $10,000 from the bank, the money goes into our checking account, therefore debiting our checking account. To match this debit, we'll credit the account notes payable because the money came from a loan or note. Credits and debits are simple concepts if we just remember that where money goes in our business, we call a debit, and where money comes from for our business, we call a credit. Also, remember that every debit has a credit. This process that we've just covered is known as the double entry concept of accounting. Although this seems very logical, it wasn't until the Renaissance that an Italian monk, Luca Pacioli, codified this process. We honor Pacioli for this contribution by naming our software after him. This double entry method is universally used in accounting and helps keep the books straight. Speaking of the books, this brings us to our next area of discussion in understanding accounting. Let's move to Chapter 3, where we discuss these books of accounting. The books are the places where day-to-day financial transactions are recorded. There are two types of books in the accounting world: journals and ledgers. Journals are where daily transactions are recorded. In fact, our word journal comes from the same root as the French jour, meaning day. Ledgers are where daily transactions are classified and summarized. We arrive at an account's balance by adding up the debits and adding up the credits and then subtracting the credits from the debits. If there are more debits than credits, the account has a debit balance. If there are more credits than debits, the account has a credit balance. Since these asset accounts, like cash, inventory, and accounts receivable, should have more going in them than coming out, these accounts should have debit balances. Liability and capital accounts will normally have credit balances because these are the accounts that indicate where money comes from for our business. To further understand the purpose of these books, let's trace a business transaction. Suppose we want to pay for some copier paper. We've received an invoice from Joe's Paper Company indicating that we purchased one case of paper for $50. We've checked our records and found out that the merchandise was indeed delivered. Now we must classify and record this information in detail. We do this in a journal. To record the transaction, we'll debit our account, office supplies, by $50 worth of paper because this is where the paper is going. We'll also credit our cash account by the $50 because this is where the money is coming from. Our journal now reflects this occurrence in the financial history of our company. We now have a record of this important financial event. But how does this affect any other accounts involved? Use of the ledger will help us get a clearer picture of the status of all our accounts. On a regular basis, we'll want to take the information from the journal and transfer the information to the ledger. This process is called posting. Most businesses post to the ledger on a daily basis. Let's post the journal entry we just made. The office supply account in the ledger shows a $700 debit balance. By posting the $50 debit to this account, we've increased the debit balance to $750. The ledger also shows that our cash account has a $10,000 debit balance. By crediting the $50 payment to this account, we'll decrease the cash debit balance to $9,950. Once we've posted all the transactions from our journal, we can look at the various accounts to get a financial picture of our company. If we put all these snapshots of our accounts down on paper with the assets on the left side of the page and the liabilities and equities on the right side of the page, we'll have the balance sheet we mentioned earlier. So the balance sheet becomes a snapshot of our company finances at any given moment. This useful information gives an insight into the condition of our company. But this, after all, is only a one-moment picture. A better insight into the financial condition of our company would be given through a report of the money we've made and spent over a period of time. This report does exist and is called the income statement. Every company wants to make a profit for the owners. To do this, a company sells a product or sells a service. The money that the company receives from the sale of products or services is called revenue. Unfortunately, it takes money to make money. The money a company spends to generate revenue is called expenses. Revenue minus expenses is net income. The reporting of revenue and expenses is the income statement. It's important to understand that revenue is not simply an increase in cash, but an increase in the owner's equity. Correspondingly, expenses are not simply a decrease in cash, but a decrease in owner's equity. Let's illustrate. When a company borrows $10,000 from a bank, the cash account is increased or debited by $10,000. Also, notes payable, a liability account, is credited by $10,000. The owner's equity is unchanged even though cash is increased. So this increase in cash is not a revenue. And when a $1,000 payment is made on the loan, the cash account is credited or decreased, and the notes payable account is debited by the same $1,000. Again, although cash is decreased, the owner's equity remains unchanged, and therefore this decrease in cash is not an expense. Differing from these examples is revenue, which is an increase in equity from the sale of products or services. Increases in owner equity are credits, so revenue is a credit. Typically, sales revenue is credited to the sales revenue account. Expenses are decreases in money due to the cost of making products or providing services. Examples include advertising, salaries, utilities, depreciation of facilities, etc. With this in mind, accounting for revenues and expenses is very simple. More than any other account, revenues reflect sources of money for the business, so revenues are credit balance accounts. Since owner's equity is also a credit account, revenues add to the owner's equity. Expenses, more than any other account, reflect uses of money, so expenses are debit balance accounts. Since owner's equity is a credit account, when we debit expenses, we take away from the owner's equity. Suppose during 1 month we sold $10,000 of our product. We also had $8,000 of expenses related to those sales. The extra $2,000 then becomes earnings or income for the month. See, it's really quite simple. Now, on a regular basis, we can report the revenues and expenses of our company and the consequent income or lack of income. This report, the income statement, is sometimes called the profit and loss statement because it reports profit, which is another word for income, or loss. The income statement becomes a valuable tool for a company as the company determines its economic health. As you can see, the amount of income is very important to a business. Accounting, however, is concerned not only with how much income, but also when the income is received. Let's look at an example. In March, our carpet cleaning company received a check for $100 from Mr. Taylor. This $100 check was advance payment for carpet cleaning to be done in April. We cleaned Mr. Taylor's carpets in April. If we accounted for revenue in March, when we received the check, we are tracking revenue and expenses on a cash basis. That is, we recognize revenue when we receive payment, and we recognize expenses when we pay for them. If, on the other hand, we accounted for revenue in April, when we actually earned the $100, we are practicing accrual accounting. That is, we recognize revenues when we provide the service or deliver the product, and we match expenses to the revenue that is earned during an accounting period. Businesses operate to make a profit. Accounting tracks revenue and expenses to show income at the end of an accounting period. This data helps in making better management decisions. Remember, accounting information is of little value unless it is used to make better financial decisions. In our next program, we turn our attention to the best PC-based accounting package, Pacioli 2000. Welcome to our video presentation of Pacioli 2000. Pacioli 2000 is the most affordable, fully integrated, network-ready accounting package on the market today. Pacioli 2000 can be used in your business to fulfill all accounting needs. And the nice part is, Pacioli 2000 is easy to use and easy to learn. This video is divided into several chapters. You'll want to note the counter on your VCR as we move to each chapter. Then, if you later need to reference a specific section, you can do so quickly. In Chapter 1, we'll start by installing Pacioli 2000 and introducing the various features of Pacioli 2000, including the main screens and the various key commands. In Chapter 2, we'll begin customizing Pacioli 2000. We'll get into the heart of the program as we learn about Pacioli 2000's main files in Chapter 3. Day-to-day entries are covered as we create a purchase and sales transaction, do an accounting transaction, and write a check in Chapter 4. In Chapter 5, we'll view the normal end-of-day activities in Pacioli 2000. Printing standard accounting reports will be discussed in Chapter 6, including an important feature of Pacioli 2000, the report generator. Finally, in Chapter 7, we'll discuss the many options available to us in Pacioli 2000, including budgeting and physical inventorying. Since this video will help you use the many features of Pacioli 2000, several times during the program you'll be encouraged to stop and go practice on your computer. Using these suggested practice sessions will help you begin using Pacioli 2000 that much faster. Let's get started right now. When you first open Pacioli 2000, you'll find a small packet containing the Pacioli 2000 program disks. Carefully read the license agreement on the cover of this packet before you open it. If you accept the terms of the agreement, open the packet and remove the disks that correspond to your disk drive type. I have a 5¼ disk drive in my computer, so I'll use these disks. Now turn on your computer. While the computer is going through its power-on checks, I'll mention that during this section of the Pacioli 2000 video tutor, I'll sometimes refer to MS-DOS and certain DOS commands. If you need extra help in these DOS commands, refer to the last program on this tape or the DOS primer in the appendix of your Pacioli 2000 user manual. By now, your computer screen should have displayed the DOS C prompt and the flashing cursor. If the date and time are requested, enter the correct date and time as prompted by DOS. The prompt means that the computer is ready for us to install Pacioli 2000. Place the Pacioli 2000 disk number 1 in your A disk drive. If you're using the 3½ disk, place it in the disk drive. At the C prompt, type A:"install. During the installation process, you'll be asked which directory you want to use for Pacioli 2000 files and what kind of monitor you're using. Pacioli 2000 will provide default selections for these questions. We suggest that you simply accept these default selections. The Pacioli 2000 files have been compressed on the program disk to save space. During the install process, these compressed files will be decompressed. In about 5 minutes, Pacioli 2000 will be installed on your hard disk, ready for you to use. When the Pacioli 2000 install process is completed, you'll be returned to the C prompt. On some computers, Pacioli 2000 may require that you reboot the computer before you begin using Pacioli 2000. If this message appears, reboot before continuing to Pacioli 2000. Now, change to the newly created Pacioli 2000 subdirectory by typing cd/Pacioli. To start Pacioli 2000, all you have to do is type Pacioli. When the opening screen appears, press any key to move to the Pacioli 2000 main menu. The main menu has 4 selections: File, Transactions, Reports, and Options. Although the File menu is the default menu, or the first to appear, we can easily access the other menus by using the left and right arrow keys on the keyboard. Before we go any further, let's look at the ways to issue commands in Pacioli 2000. Pacioli 2000 offers the option of using a mouse, one of the best devices for entering information into the computer. Using the mouse can really be a time saver. As the mouse is moved on a hard surface, the mouse's pointer moves on the computer screen. Clicking 1 or 2 of the mouse's buttons at the right place will often save several keystrokes on the keyboard. However, if there's no mouse available, the keyboard can be used to enter all commands in Pacioli 2000. Some of the most important keys are the function keys. These keys, a number preceded by the letter F, are usually found at the top of the keyboard or at the left of the keyboard. Other keys used are the Escape key, the Tab key, the Shift tab, which is used by holding down the Shift key and then tapping the Tab key, the Page Up and Page Down keys, and the arrow keys. Most newer keyboards have two sets of page up, page down, and arrow keys. One set is built into the numeric keypad, and one is found to the left of the numeric keypad. Since we'll be using numbers frequently in Pacioli 2000, it's best to use the page up, page down, and arrow keys that are to the left of the numeric keypad, and use the numeric keypad to enter all numeric information. We have designed Pacioli 2000 to be a user-friendly program. This means that whenever we have an option in Pacioli 2000, these options are presented in menus that will help us easily make our selections. Pacioli 2000 uses three kinds of menus: pull-down menus, pop-up menus, and dialog boxes. Let's look at an example of each of these menus as we continue our introduction to Pacioli 2000. The main screen is a great place to find pull-down menus. This opening screen shows four menu choices across the top of the screen: File, Transactions, Reports, and Options. These are in fact names of pull-down menus. All this means is that when we select one of these names, a menu of selections will seem to pull down under the menu name. Pacioli 2000 allows us to select any one of the menus by moving our mouse pointer over the menu name and clicking the left button, or by using the left or right arrow keys on our keyboard to move the highlight over the menu you want. Now, we can move the selection bar up and down the menu using the arrow keys. Once the selection bar is over our selection, we can enter our selection by pressing the Enter key. Of course, if we have a mouse, simply clicking on the selection with the left button will enter the selection. Some of the options in the pull-down menus have bullets next to them. This indicates that if we select this option, another menu will appear. This menu, a pop-up menu, will appear to the right of the pull-down menu selection. The options in these pop-up menus can be selected in the same way as selections are made in the pull-down menus. Some of the options in the pull-down menus, when selected, will present us with a special kind of pop-up box called a dialog box. A dialog box is like a form that we fill out to give Pacioli 2000 specific information. There are several ways that information is gathered in dialog boxes: the selection box, which presents a list of selections; the option box, which presents several options to choose; the check box, which can be either on or off; and the text box, which allows us to enter numbers or letters. At the bottom of dialog boxes are commands that allow you to accept the selection you've made, cancel out of the dialog box, or get help. We'll get to know all these menus better as we continue our examination of Pacioli 2000. Now let's look at some of the important commands in Pacioli 2000. One of the most important commands is the help command. Learning a new software program, even a user-friendly program like Pacioli 2000, requires new knowledge. To make this task easier, Pacioli 2000 comes with extensive online context-sensitive help. This simply means that no matter where we are in Pacioli 2000, a simple click of the left mouse button with the mouse pointer over the word help, or a simple press of the F1 key brings instant, detailed help. Once in the help screen, several options are available at the bottom of the screen. The OK option returns us to the previous screen in Pacioli 2000. The index option presents other available help topics. The date option allows us to change the system date from within Pacioli 2000. We can select any of these functions by using the left or right arrow keys on our keyboard to highlight the selection, then press the Enter key to make the selection. We can also use the Tab key to move the highlight to the next logical field, and the combination keystroke Shift-Tab to move the highlight to the previous logical field. Finally, if we have a mouse, we can point to the option we want and click the left mouse button to make the selection. We'll use these same selection techniques, the arrow keys, the Tab plus Shift-Tab keys, and the mouse, to make most of our selections in Pacioli 2000. Another important command in Pacioli 2000 is the Browse command. Selecting Browse with the mouse or F2 key allows us to look up account or product information that we have forgotten. When we use the Browse command, Pacioli 2000 will present a pop-up window containing account numbers and account names, product numbers and product information, or other important information. With the Browse window on the screen, we can scroll through the list using the up and down arrow keys, or by using the mouse with the scroll bar to the right of the window. To use the scroll bar, simply position the mouse pointer over the dark box. Now, click and hold the left mouse button down. Now drag the mouse pointer up or down the scroll bar. The highlight in the box moves as the mouse pointer moves. The mouse cursor can also be positioned over the arrows above and below the scroll bar to move the highlight one item at a time. Every click of the left button moves the highlight one item. Once we locate the correct account or product, we can select the information by choosing OK from the options at the bottom of the window, or by pressing the Enter key, or by clicking the left mouse button twice. The account or product information that we've selected then will be pasted into the screen we are currently using. Additional options at the bottom of the Browse window include Help, which brings up the regular help function, Cancel, which returns us to the current screen without any selections made, Order, which changes the default numerical listing of accounts or products to an alphabetical listing of accounts and products, and New. New is an exciting feature that can really save time. Selecting the New option allows us to enter completely new account and product information. With this function, we can begin using Pacioli 2000 immediately. Then, while we're using Pacioli 2000, if we discover the need to add a new account or a new product, we can do so right on the fly. Never again will we have to stop our current job and go to the account or product maintenance menu options in order to enter new information. Another helpful key is the F5 print key, which allows us to print certain forms immediately after we enter the information. Although we'll normally wait until the end of the day to print all our forms, the F5 option allows us to get that form we need right now. This feature is especially helpful for those businesses that want to use Pacioli 2000 as a POS or point of sale system. The F9 delete key allows us to remove information no longer needed. And the F10 process key is the key we'll use whenever we're through with an activity and wish to store the information into the system. The escape key normally allows us to cancel an activity and return to the previous screen. Now that we're more familiar with the major commands and the major screens in Pacioli 2000, we're ready to begin customizing for our day-to-day activities. This would be a great time to stop the tape and practice moving around in Pacioli 2000. Be sure to use the help key if you get stuck. You may wish to note the counter on your VCR so that you can later return to this point in the tape. Since this is the first time we've used Pacioli 2000, there are a few housekeeping tasks we have to do before we can begin our day-to-day activities. First, we have to set our accounting or fiscal year and open the accounting periods we want to use. Then we have to give Pacioli 2000 the company name and address that will be printed on forms and reports. Finally, we can customize Pacioli 2000 to our tastes by setting passwords, changing screen colors, entering starting form numbers, and selecting a costing system. Let's begin by setting the fiscal year. We want the periods option from the File main menu. Since this option is already highlighted, just press the Enter key on the keyboard to select periods. The periods maintenance screen shows you one of the unique features of Pacioli 2000. There are 3 fiscal years displayed on the screen. Each one of these fiscal years contains 12 accounting periods. These accounting periods hold the accounting transactions in a month. With Pacioli 2000, you can have 36 of these periods available simultaneously. No matter when you first use Pacioli 2000, the fiscal year in column 1 will be the current calendar year, and the first accounting period will begin on January 1st of the current year. Most businesses use the calendar year as the fiscal year. To accept the fiscal year as displayed, just click on the process command or use the F10 key. To use a fiscal year different from the calendar year, enter the first day of the current fiscal year. All you have to enter is the numbers. Pacioli 2000 will insert the slashes. Now press the F10 process command. Automatically, Pacioli 2000 will modify all 3 fiscal years. The next step is to open the periods you want to use for transactions. Let's assume that we purchased Pacioli 2000 in February. We need to open accounting period 2 of the current fiscal year. However, in order to open period 2, we must first open period 1. Opening a period is a very simple task. The period's maintenance screen has 2 commands, open and close, displayed at the top. To highlight the open command, press the up arrow. If you press the enter key with the open command highlighted, the first available period will be opened. In this case, period 1 is opened. Notice the asterisk in the status column of period 1 is replaced by the letter O. You can now enter checks, purchase orders, invoices, etc. for the month of January. However, since we want to enter transactions for the month of February, we need to return and open period 2. With the open command highlighted, press enter again. Now the second period, February, is opened and ready for transactions. Next, we need to add our company name and address to Pacioli 2000's files. To do this, use the up and down arrow keys to move the highlight bar over the setup command in the file main menu. Now, press the enter key to select the setup command. At the secondary menu, press the enter key to select the company option. At the company maintenance screen, enter your company name, your company address, and if you wish, the company phone number. When you're through, press the tab key to move to the command bar at the bottom of the screen. With the OK command highlighted, press the enter key to accept the company identification information. That's all it takes to begin using Pacioli 2000. However, there are a few additional tasks we can do to customize Pacioli 2000 to our unique tastes. Let's look at these features, beginning with setting passwords. Use of passwords protects your sensitive accounting data from casual users of your computer. To set a password, select Tables from the File main menu. Select Password from the secondary menu. The first password that you enter into Pacioli 2000 is automatically the level 9 password. The level 9 password user has access to all parts of Pacioli 2000. Other lower password levels have only restricted access in Pacioli 2000. To enter your password, type in a user number. This can be any 3-digit number. Now, type your name up to 20 characters. Next, enter the password you want to use. The password you type won't display on the screen, so to verify that you typed the password correctly, Pacioli 2000 will have you type the password again. If the 2 versions match, the number 9 will appear in the security level field. Now press the F10 process command to accept the password. For final verification purposes, Pacioli 2000 will ask you to once again enter your password. Now only you will be able to access Pacioli 2000 routines. You can allow others to access certain parts of Pacioli 2000 by letting them enter their own passwords. For details, see your user manual. Next, you may wish to modify the screen colors if you're using a color monitor. You can modify the screen colors from the Colors menu of the Setup option of the File menu. At the Color screen, you select one of 5 Pacioli 2000 screens or screen parts. Then you select a foreground color and a background color. As you make your color selections, these color blends will be displayed over the selection in the left-hand side of the screen. To select a screen or screen part to change, use your up and down arrows to move the dot next to your selection. Then use the mouse or the tab key to select the foreground and background colors. Once you've selected the right combination for you, move back to the left side of the screen and select a new screen or screen part to customize. Once you've made all the selections you want, select the OK command to save all your changes. If the selections you've made don't agree with you, return here to make new selections, or choose a standard selection to return to Pacioli 2000's default screen colors. Next, you will want to set your forms numbers. This is important for continuity between your older forms and your new Pacioli 2000 forms. Before Pacioli 2000 can print your next consecutive form number, it must know the number of the last form you used in your old system. If you prefer, you can begin with number 1. To give Pacioli 2000 this information, select Setup from the File menu. Now select Numbers. In the pop-up windows, enter the numbers for the last invoice, sales return, purchase order, and purchase return used. Process this information by clicking OK or by pressing the F10 command. Now, the next invoice you print will be in continuous sequence with your previous forms. Next, you should tell Pacioli 2000 how you want your inventory items costed. If you're not sure about the costing system to select, consult with your accountant. Once you're sure of the system you want, select Setup from the File menu. Now select Costing System from the secondary screen that appears. Use the up and down arrows to move the selection dot next to the system you want to use. Once you've made the selection, click OK to accept the costing system. You may want to stop the tape and go practice the setup features we just examined. Before you do, note the counter on the tape player so that you can return to this point at a later date. In this chapter, we're going to cover the steps in creating table entries, the steps involved in setting up new accounts, and the steps needed to create product and service files. Even though we've classified these steps as part of the setup procedures, we can actually begin using Pacioli 2000 right away. Then, using the information we're going to cover in this chapter, we can enter table entries, new accounts, and products or services on the fly. So, to get up and running quickly, watch this chapter and the next 2 chapters in one sitting. Pacioli 2000 comes with 4 tables that help make your accounting activities much easier. These tables consist of table numbers that correspond to specific information. All you have to do is place a table number in a customer or product file. Then Pacioli 2000 relates that number to the specific information. For example, if you place a sales tax code in a customer's account, that number tells Pacioli 2000 to use the corresponding sales tax rate for that customer's purchases. A nice advantage of this system is when the sales tax rate changes, all you have to do is change the table entry. Then every account that uses this code will now use the new tax rate. We've already used the password table. Let's look at the other tables available in Pacioli 2000. To make a sales tax table entry, select Tables from the File menu. Then select Sales Tax. Once at the Sales Tax Table Maintenance screen, the cursor is automatically in the first field, Table Number. Click on the Browse command to see the sales tax table entries that come with Pacioli 2000. If you need to add additional entries, press the Escape key to exit from the Browse screen. Now, enter a new table number. Next, enter the tax rate. Enter the Purchase Sales Tax account, 532001. This account identifies the expenses you incur by paying sales tax. Finally, enter the Selling Sales Tax account, 210404. This account identifies liability you incur to the state taxing authority. Click on the Process command to save this table entry. Another table available in Pacioli 2000 is the Discount table. This table allows you to assign discounts to individual accounts. The Terms table allows you to identify by number specific payment conditions for your customers or specific payment conditions offered you by vendors. Both the discount table and the terms table come with several entries already available. Use the Browse command in the table number field to view these entries. For detailed information on these tables, consult your user manual. Pacioli 2000 comes with a complete chart of accounts that will more than meet the needs of most companies. However, you may eventually discover a need to change or add some accounts. This chart of accounts is very much like a family tree. At the top of the chart of accounts tree are 5 groups: assets, liabilities, capital, revenues, and expenses. We assign the account number 1 to assets, 2 to liabilities, 3 to capital, 4 to revenues, and 5 to expenses. Just as a family tree has branches from one generation to the next, our chart of accounts has branches from one level to the next. These 5 top accounts are at the parent or first level. The second level contains accounts that are children of the level 1 accounts. The level 2 accounts are also parents of the level 3 children accounts. These children accounts help differentiate the information of the parent account. In Pacioli 2000, you can have as many as 9 levels of differentiation or branching. The last account in any branch is the account where you will want to enter transactions for that branch. In this example, you will enter transactions in the Team Bank account because it is the last child of the branch that begins at assets and runs through current assets, cash and bank, and checking accounts. Of course, you could also enter transactions in the sister account, NCNB Texas account, because this account is also the last child in a branch. These last accounts in a branch, no matter which level, are called detail accounts. The parent accounts are called summary accounts. When you enter new accounts in Pacioli 2000, you will be asked to enter the new account number, the account level, the parent account, the account group, the account type, and the account class. When selecting account class, you have 4 options. Receivable payable accounts are those from which you collect money or to which you pay money. Checking accounts are those accounts on which you write checks. Inventory accounts are those accounts that will have products as their children accounts. Any other account is a normal account. Be sure to check the Pacioli 2000 chart of accounts in the user manual for ideas on creating account numbers. Let's add a new account to the Pacioli 2000 chart of accounts. One of the first times we'll do this is when we start adding customers to our accounts receivable. Let's say we need to add Beetle and Andrews Daycare Center to the list of customers. Select accounts from the File menu. The first field is the account number field. We can look at the chart of accounts by using one of Pacioli 2000's special features, the Browse command. Anytime you are in a field that asks for information that's stored in the Pacioli 2000 files, press the F2 key to get a listing of the information available for the current field. In this case, we're looking for an account number, so the F2 key displays the entire chart of accounts in the Browse screen window. Now you can use the page up and page down keys to locate the account you want. If we highlight and select an account, the account number and name will be pasted into the appropriate fields. However, since we are creating a new account, we'll not use any current account at this time. Instead, we'll use the Pacioli 2000 chart of accounts for ideas on constructing customer account numbers. Since this customer's name begins with the letter B, we'll use this account number that matches with the Pacioli 2000 chart of account numbering system. Next, enter up to 30 characters as a description of the company. Since this account will be a child of the 1104 accounts receivable trade account, which is a level 3 account according to the chart of accounts, we'll enter level 4 for this account. Now, enter the parent account number. The group will be the same as the parent. Since we enter invoices for this account, this is a detail account. Next, we select whether this is a receivable payable, checking, inventory, or normal class of account. Since we collect money from this account, this is a receivable payable account. This next data entry window allows us to enter special information that speeds up the process of transactions for this account. For example, if we enter the contact person for this account and the address of the company, when we send pre-printed statements or invoices, this information is printed right on the form. Then, when we place the form in the Pacioli 2000 windowed envelopes, the name and address is displayed without the need for any extra mailing labels. As you can see, the use of this personalized information plus the professional-looking Pacioli 2000 forms makes your accounting task both quick and easy. Once we've entered the name and address, we'll enter the phone and fax numbers. Later, when we print out certain reports, this information can help our sales or marketing departments. The memo field is great for account numbers that must be printed on checks. You'll use this field primarily for vendors. Whatever you enter here will be printed on the checks to this account. For tax ID, use the customer's tax-exempt number, if they have one, or use the Social Security number for reporting miscellaneous income on an IRS Form 1099. The cycle field is for the day of the month we want this customer's bill to be processed. For example, a 5 indicates that we will process statements on the 5th of the month for this account. The default is 31, and Pacioli 2000 will assume the last day of the month. VIA and FOB are for fields that are printed on purchase orders and invoices. Code 1 and Code 2 are multi-purpose fields for salesperson's codes, etc. Use the code 1099 in the Code 2 field if a Form 1099 should be sent on this account. Terms, price code, and tax table are all fields that refer to the other parts of Pacioli 2000 as we explained earlier. The terms field should contain a code that relates to an entry in the terms table. We can access the terms table immediately by pressing the F2 browse key. Select the terms to offer this account from the set of sample terms that come with Pacioli 2000, or use the new command to enter new terms and codes without returning to the tables menu. Here you can enter specific information on terms to offer customers or terms that are offered by vendors. The price code field, either A, B, or C, refers to 3 separate pricing categories available in Pacioli 2000. Let's say that A customers are dealers, B customers are regional distributors, and C customers are national distributors. If this customer is a dealer, we'll enter an A. The tax table works just like the terms table, except this refers to a sales tax code. In the credit dollars field, enter the credit line offered the customer or the credit line the vendor is offering. The balance and credit available are automatically calculated by Pacioli 2000. Finally, select whether this account will be a balance forward or open invoice account. If you want to print details of each unpaid invoice on the printed statements, select Open Invoices. If you want to control by transaction but not by invoice number, use Balance Forward. Check the user manual for additional information on these 2 types of accounts. Now press the F10 key to process this information. As we mentioned earlier, you may want to change some generic accounts to specific accounts. For example, this checking account could be changed to the name of your bank. Select Accounts from the File menu. The first field is the account number field. Press the F2 browse key to access the browse window, and then use the scroll bar to find the account you want to change. Press Enter to paste the account into the account file maintenance screen. Now enter the new description of the account. We don't want to change any of the other fields, but we do want to add personalized information on the checking account. To bring up the personalized information screen, press the F3 Receivable Payable key. Immediately, an additional data entry screen appears. At this window, we can enter special information on an account that will save data entry time later. Enter your contact at the bank. Enter the complete address for the bank. You'll probably want to include the telephone number of the bank for later reference. Enter a fax number if you wish. The memo field is a great place to put account numbers that your vendors require. You may wish to place your bank checking account number in this field. The information in this field will be printed in the standard memo space of the check. The rest of the information here is not needed for the bank, so we'll just press the F10 key to save our changes. Select Escape to return to the File main menu. The final setup task is the creation of our product and service files. Let's try an example. Suppose we sell computer supplies. We'll enter our products through the Product Service option of the File menu. Once you've selected this option, the Product Service File maintenance screen appears. Immediately, Pacioli 2000 wants to know if you're going to enter information on a service or a product. Our business offers both, but for now, let's enter information on products. Next, enter the product number. This field is large enough for the Universal Product Code or the European Product Code. Next, enter up to a 30-character description of the item. Since we currently have only one inventory account, account 1106, this account will automatically be entered for us. If there are other inventory accounts, Pacioli 2000 will display a list to select from. If you sell different lines of product, you might want to enter a code for each line here. We'll enter discs here. Next, we enter information on how we purchase the discs we sell. The first two fields are unit and fractions. These fields relate to the unit and fractions fields in the sales information portion of the screen. Since these two fields are very important, let's examine them in more detail. We relate the purchase and sales units and fractions by the least common denominator between them. This least common denominator then becomes a bridge that allows us to manage inventory and prices. Let's look at some examples of the use of these fields. Let's say you buy computer disks by the case. There are 10 boxes of 10 disks each in one case. If you only sell by the box, then your purchase unit is case, your purchase fraction is 10, your sale unit is box, and your sale fraction is 1. If, however, your standard purchase is by the case, but you will sell by the disk, then your purchase unit is case. Your purchase fraction is 100 because there are 100 individual disks in a case. Your sale unit is disk, and your sale fraction is 1. Just remember, express the fractions fields in the least possible common denominator between the purchase and the sale units. For our disks, let's enter case, since we normally buy our disks by the case. Next, since our case of disks holds 10 boxes of disks, and we sell them only by the box, we'll enter 10 in the fractions field. Now, enter the cost of goods sold account 51001. If you don't remember the number, use the F2 browse command. Each product, line, or department can have a different account to control its cost. Now enter the list price paid, the discount table number for any discount the vendor offers, the vendor's account number from the chart of accounts, and the location of this product in the warehouse or store. Next, decide whether or not to allow negative stock. This allows you to control products that are drop shipped or products that have so much activity you sometimes invoice them before you have them in stock. Finally, enter whether physical inventory is taken in purchase or sales units. Now let's move to the sales information portion of the screen. We already know about the first two fields. Let's enter box for our disks and 1 as our sales fraction. Next, we need to enter the account where we want sales revenue to go. The browse command is available here if you need to use it. Now enter the list sales price. and the next three fields enter discount table numbers for three separate prices. For example, A might represent a dealer discount, B could represent a regional distributor discount, and C could represent a national distributor discount. Use the browse command to look up the appropriate table numbers for each field. Remember, Pacioli 2000 helps your memory work wonders. This table number, either an A, B, or C, can be entered in customer accounts. Enter whether this product is taxable or not. If we use the standard costing system, we'll have to enter the cost in the standard cost field. Since we selected LIFO for our costing system, we'll skip this field. All the other fields in this third column are calculated by Pacioli 2000, except the last two. Here, enter the minimum number of units we want on hand. When on-hand stock falls below this amount, the product alert report will warn us to reorder. The right quantity to reorder when this situation occurs is entered in the reorder field. The bottom of the screen displays information on all three fiscal years kept in Pacioli 2000. With the product information entered and the file complete, all we need do is press the F10 key to save it. Since our company also provides services, let's enter a service into our files. Enter the product service option of the file menu. Select service. Enter the service number and description. Since service accounts don't have parent accounts, Pacioli 2000 automatically skips to the line field. Enter in line information. Now, Pacioli 2000 skips to the sales information section of the screen, since the purchase information section is not applicable to services. The unit of sale for a service and the fraction of sale work the same as in the product accounts. For example, you might sell services by the hour with a 15-minute minimum. In this case, enter hour for unit and 4 for fraction, since there are 4 15-minute fractions in an hour. If you charge by the day with a half-day minimum, enter day as the unit and 2 as the fraction. For the remaining fields, enter the information as it applies to the service. With the file complete, all we need do is press the F10 key to save it. Now you're ready to begin using all the parts of Pacioli 2000. On a daily basis, you'll use Pacioli 2000 to create purchase documents, create sales documents, write checks, and record accounting transactions. In this chapter, we'll examine these daily entries and see how easy they are to complete when using Pacioli 2000's multiple module single system approach. One of the most important daily events is the creation of purchase and sales documents. Purchase documents, such as purchase orders, merchandise receipts, and purchase returns, help monitor costs, track purchases, update inventory, save time, and avoid surprises. Sales documents, such as invoices and sales returns, help save time, monitor sales, update inventory, and record revenues. And when Pacioli 2000 prints all these forms, you not only save time, but you improve your company's image and you dramatically reduce the possibility of error. Let's complete a few purchase and sales transactions to see how easy they are to enter in Pacioli 2000. Enter the purchase and sales transactions data entry screen. Pacioli 2000 displays the current date. Press enter to use this as the date of the transaction. Pacioli 2000 pops up a window for you to select the form you are completing. Since we're going to work on a PO, select Purchase Order. Press Enter to accept the next available transaction number. Enter the date of the shipment and enter the vendor account number using the Browse command if necessary. If we've entered personalized information on this vendor, the name and address will appear on the screen. Type any remarks or instructions. Then via FOB, discount percent, and discount date and due date are all automatically entered from the vendor record. Enter any meaningful number in the Your Number field. we'll probably want to enter the vendor's account number for us. In the hour number field, enter any meaningful number. In the item field, enter the product ordered. You can use the browse command here to look up and paste product numbers. When the description displays, you can edit it or accept it as displayed. Enter the quantity ordered. Price, discount, and extension are filled in automatically, but you can edit them. Up to 32,000 lines per form can be entered, but for now, let's press F10 to process the purchase order. Another type of purchase order you'll want to enter is one that controls other products and services not for resale, say office supplies. Using POs for these purchases will help you control expenditures and back orders. This PO is entered just like the previous example. Once these orders are received, you'll want to fill out a merchandise receipt for each order. Select merchandise receipt from the list. When the cursor moves to the transaction number field, click on the Browse command. The Browse window will display all the open purchase orders. Select the purchase order number that represents the merchandise received. When this PO is pasted into the number field, all the information from the PO is pasted in as well. Click on the Your Number field in the first line. If you don't have a mouse, use the Tab key to move to this field. Enter the vendor invoice number here to help track this purchase until it is paid. Now click on the Shipped field in the first item. Enter the amount of items received. If the amount received is less than the amount ordered, the difference will be displayed in the back order field. Next, you can edit the unit price field if the price on the vendor's invoice is different from the original purchase order. Now click on the Process command to save this transaction. Now the quantity available for the products will reflect these purchases. Another important form you'll complete every day is a sales invoice. Pacioli 2000 provides you both product and service invoices, so you never have to send a makeshift form to your customers. To enter a sales invoice, select Invoice from the displayed choices. Press Enter at the Number field to accept the next available transaction number. Press Enter at the Ship Date field. Enter the customer account number or select from the Browse screen. If you enter a partial number in the account number field and then click on the Browse command, Pacioli 2000 will display the closest available account numbers in the Browse window. The name and address is displayed. You can modify it if you wish. Next, enter the Ship To address or shipping instructions. The next fields are filled from the customer record. Click on the Your Number field. Now enter the customer's PO number. In the Hour Number field, enter some meaningful number, say the salesperson's number. If this was a sales return, you should enter the original invoice number to ensure the return would be credited to the customer's account. Now move to the body of the form. Enter the product number in the item number field. Enter the number ordered. The rest of the form is automatically calculated for you by Pacioli 2000. Click on the Process command to save this information to the disk. Now Pacioli 2000 allows you to enter the payment method and any advance or down payment. Enter any 10 characters that identify the payment method. Enter any advance or down payment. If you are using Pacioli 2000 for a point-of-sale system, click on the Print command to have an invoice printed immediately. Otherwise, click on the Process command to save the payment information to the disk. As you've seen, when you learn to do one Pacioli 2000 sales or purchase form, you've learned them all. Now, although most daily activities will involve purchase and sales transactions, you will frequently have to enter accounting transactions and checks. Let's enter a check and a customer payment to see how easily these are done in Pacioli 2000. Select Checks from the Transactions menu. The Checks Data Entry screen appears. Just like a handwritten check, the first thing you have to do is enter the date. However, better than a handwritten check, Pacioli 2000 presents the current date already in the date field. Since this date is the date we want on the check, All we have to do is press the Enter key to accept the displayed date. Next, Pacioli 2000 automatically enters the checking account number for us. In the next field, the transaction number field, press Enter to have Pacioli 2000 assign the next transaction number to this check. Now, Pacioli 2000 asks you to enter the Pay To account number and the name and address of the payee. Use the Browse command to look up account numbers to paste here. Any detail account can be used here, but normally you will use vendor or expense accounts. The address is automatically pasted from the vendor records. You can edit this address as needed. In the Invoice Reference Number field, we can enter the invoice number of the bill we're paying if that invoice is already on file. When this number is entered, the remaining information on the line is filled in automatically. Also, you can use the Browse command to review the unpaid invoices. Look over all the entries. Once everything is correct, click on the Process command key and the check will be saved to the disk. Now let's enter accounting transactions. Accounting transactions will be used when you enter customer payments, monthly depreciations, monthly expensing of prepaid items, etc. Let's examine this procedure by entering a customer payment. Select Accounting from the Transactions menu. Press Return to accept the date. Press Return to accept the next transaction number. In the Source field, enter any four-letter word that means something to you. For example, Payment for customer payments. Enter the customer's account number. Select Payment received from the list. Enter the invoice number being paid. We can use the Browse command if we need to look up and paste these numbers. Enter a short description of the transaction. Enter the check number in the Reference Number field. Enter any discount the customer took. Enter the amount of the payment. Next, automatically Pacioli creates the discount transaction. You can continue to enter as many payments as you have, whether from the same or different customers, up to 32,000 lines. We suggest you include all payments for a day on one deposit slip. Then your monthly transaction will be much simpler. Now we're ready to enter the offset entry, the deposit, into our checking account. Pacioli 2000 makes offset entries very simple. In the account number field, click on the F8 auto command. Pacioli 2000 automatically pops up the Browse window. Highlight the checking account number and press the Enter key. Immediately, not only is the checking account number pasted into the screen, but also the complete transaction is entered. Now press F10 to process and the transaction is saved to the disk. You'll also use this accounting transactions data entry screen for regular monthly depreciation entries. To enter monthly depreciation, press Enter to accept the current date. Of course, you can enter any date you want as long as the date is within an open period. If you enter a date that is not within an open period, Pacioli 2000 will alert you to your error. Just re-enter a valid date. Press Enter to accept the next transaction number. Enter the source code DEPR for depreciations. In the account number field, enter the depreciation account number, say 530301, for the car depreciation. Now enter a description of the transaction. Enter the debit amount. At the next account number field, click on the Auto command. Highlight the accumulated depreciations asset account, press Enter, and the offset transaction is automatically entered. Now click on the Process command to save the transaction. Suppose we've discovered that the depreciation amount was incorrect, and we need to edit this transaction. To do this, enter the accounting transaction data entry screen. Press Enter to accept the date. At the transaction number field, click on the Browse command. All transactions are available in the Browse screen window. Highlight the transaction we just entered. Press Enter, and the transaction is displayed on the screen. Now click on the Debit Amount field. Enter the new amount. Click on the Credit field. enter the new offset amount. Click on the Process command, and the revised transaction is saved to the disk. Now that we've covered all the data entry screens, let's print the forms. Towards the end of each business day, there are some regular activities that you should complete in order to finish your day's accounting tasks. These tasks are the printing of all forms entered during the day, the printing of journals for the transactions entered during the day, and the posting of the transactions created during the day. Let's first turn our attention to the task of printing the forms we've created. This is an especially easy task when you use the multi-purpose Pacioli 2000 form. With this form, all you need do is load your printer and let Pacioli 2000 do the rest. Most of the forms you have created during the day can be printed on this multi-purpose form without you having to do any switching. In fact, the only time you'll have to change forms is on those days you want to print checks or run statements. Using forms will greatly benefit your use of computerized accounting. Not only do computer-printed forms save you time, but they enhance the image of your company, and they substantially reduce mistakes. You see, most accounting mistakes occur when information is being transferred from one place to another. If you enter manual forms and then transfer the information from those forms into the accounting system, you run the risk of misentering information or misreading someone's poor handwriting. Better to enter the information once into the computer and then have everything else, including the printing of forms, done by the computer. Once you have placed the forms in the printer, select Forms from the Transactions main menu. The Forms dialog box appears on the screen. Click on the form you want to print. Now select the reprint box if you want to reprint some forms. This is for those times that you need to reprint some forms that have been damaged. Toggle the box on or off with a space bar. An X indicates that the box is on. Normally you'll skip this box by pressing the Tab key. Select the range of forms to print. The default is the first and last form available of the form selected. However, if you wish to narrow this range down, type in the starting form number and the ending form number. Press the Tab key. If you are printing checks, Pacioli 2000 needs to know the checking account number and the starting number on the first printed check. Be sure to use Forms Leader before the first check if you find that your printer forces you to skip the first check. Press the Tab key. If you're printing invoices, Pacioli 2000 needs to know the style of invoices you're using. The default is the multi-purpose style because these are the most versatile forms. The multi-purpose invoice can also serve as a purchase order, a merchandise receipt, and other forms. If you offer discounts to customers, you will want to use the special invoices with discount. These invoices have a column to indicate the discount you're giving. Finally, if you are offering services, you'll want to use service invoices. These invoices are specially designed with the service company in mind. Once you've made your selection, press the Tab key again. Indicate whether a packing list should be printed along with the regular form. Packing lists are printed immediately after the form. If you don't want a packing slip, be sure to turn this option off. Press Tab again. Indicate if company identification information should be printed on the form. If you use forms imprinted with your company information, leave this box blank. If you use forms without your company information imprinted, toggle an X into this box by using the space bar. Press the Tab key one more time. The OK command is highlighted. If everything in the dialog box is correct, select the OK command by pressing the Enter key. Because you normally use the same print selections every day, Pacioli 2000 will save your selections so that the next time you print, all you'll have to do is click on the OK command. Pacioli 2000 will remind you to align your forms. When this is done, press the Enter key, and before long, you'll have a professional-looking set of image-enhancing forms ready to use. After each type of form is printed, you'll want to go back to the Forms menu to select the next type until all forms for the day are printed. The next end-of-the-day task to do every day is the printing of journals related to the day's transactions. From these journals, mistakes can be identified before the day's transactions are posted. To print the journals, select Journals from the Transactions menu. The selection box lists all the journals available in Pacioli 2000. Of course, you only need print the journals that correspond to the day's transactions. For example, if you have prepared and printed checks for the day, then print out the checks journal. Otherwise, skip it. Almost every day, the Sales and Transactions journal will need to be printed. Less frequently, you'll use the Checks and Merchandise Receipt journals. The least used journal will be the Outstanding Purchase Order journal. Use this journal to examine which purchase orders have not been received. We suggest you print this journal only at someone's specific request. If you select the Transaction Journal, select the days you want covered in the journal report. Pacioli 2000 defaults to the current date. Next, press Tab to move to the Initial Page field. Here you will want to select the number printed on the first page of the journal. If you are keeping your journals in a binder, you may want consecutively numbered pages. If so, enter the next page as the starting page for today's journal. Now move the highlight to the OK command and press the Enter key. Pacioli 2000 will display the standard output screen. For every report that you print, the screen will appear right before the report is printed. This screen offers you a great deal of flexibility. You can print the report to the printer in the standard manner. This gives you a hard copy of the report using the format built into Pacioli 2000. You can print the report to the screen. This allows you to view the information in the report without waiting for the printer. This is especially helpful if you need information from a report but the printer is tied up, or if you are simply doing an inquiry. You can print the report to a file. This option allows you to save the report to a disk file. Then you can load the file into your word processor. Once in your word processor, you can apply fancy fonts and formats to make the report very special. Finally, you can select the export option. This allows you to send information from a report to a disk in a special delimited fashion, so that this report data can be easily used in databases, spreadsheets, or word processor merge applications. With this option, you can send information to spreadsheets in order to get dynamic graphs of your Pacioli 2000 data. Or you can send Pacioli 2000 data to your database for specialized analysis. This screen is very easy to use. Simply highlight the output destination. If you select File or Export, you'll have to enter a file name and path for the destination. Additionally, if you select Export, you'll have to select the field delimiter and the text delimiter. Most databases and spreadsheets expect the text to be delimited with quotation marks and the fields to be delimited with commas. These standards are the Pacioli 2000 defaults. Also, tell Pacioli 2000 whether or not to include headings with the exported data. Most spreadsheets will want you to include these headings or column titles. Most databases will not want you to include these headings. Check your database, spreadsheet, or word processor manual for additional information. Now select OK, and your instructions will be carried out. After your journals are printed, review the transactions for accuracy. If necessary, make corrections through the appropriate screen. For example, if you find an incorrect payment has been entered, return to the Accounting Transactions Data Entry screen. Call up the incorrect transaction by entering that transaction number in the transaction number field. Now correct the transaction. Once all corrections are entered, print the journals again. These provide a paper audit trail to augment the online audit trail provided by Pacioli 2000. Now you're ready to post the transactions. There is a posting routine for each type of transaction. Remember, every posting procedure begins with a backup. However, if you post them one after the other, one backup is enough. Select Posting from the Transactions menu. Click on the Backup command. Identify the destination of the backup, usually another directory on the hard disk. Select OK and wait for the backup to complete. Now, post the transactions that were done today by clicking on the OK command. Be sure you first post checks and purchase sales transactions. These two procedures will create accounting transactions that will need to be posted. Now, select accounting as the last posting procedure. Once you've posted all the transactions, you're done for the day. Well, there you have most of the end-of-the-day activities in Pacioli 2000. The only other task you'll want to do on a daily basis is the printing of reports. We'll discuss reports in the next chapter of this video. However, before you proceed, you may want to stop the tape and practice some of these procedures. Note the counter on the VCR so that you can return to this place after you've had a chance to get some hands-on experience. The Pacioli 2000 report section contains most of the reports you'll ever need to get information on your accounting activities. From the chart of accounts and budgeted expenditures versus actual expenditures, to monthly statements and inventory reports, everything you need is ready for your use in Pacioli 2000. And if this isn't enough, Pacioli 2000 contains a powerful report generator that lets you design unique ways of obtaining accounting information. You can also export your reports to a database or a spreadsheet program for additional analysis. Pacioli 2000 is designed to help you use your accounting data to better manage your business or home. To access these powerful reports, highlight Reports in the main menu. There are 4 options. Each option works basically the same. In this chapter, we'll look at several reports from each of the 4 available options. Let's first look at the accounts reports. There are 6 reports available from the accounts report screen. The accounts activity report gives you detail on the transactions for each account in your general ledger. The beginning balance is listed for each account selected. Following this are all the transactions for the account during the selected periods. At the end of the transaction listing, the current balance of the account is given. This report can give up-to-the-minute information on an account, as both posted and unposted transactions are listed. To print this report, click on Account Activity in the Report selection box. Next, enter the accounts you want included in the report. Pacioli 2000 defaults are all accounts. If you just want one account, use the same account number in the From and To fields. Finally, indicate the accounting periods you want included in the report. The default is the current period only. Now click on the Options command. The default report heading is the name of the report. You can expand this heading if you wish. Indicate whether you want each account to begin on a separate page. This makes it easy to separate accounts by departments. Click on the OK command to accept your option selections. Now click on the OK command to accept your report selections. Make your selections at the output screen. Click on the OK command to begin the report processing. Since all reports follow the same sequence, we'll not explain this closing process again. Another valuable accounts report is the Accounts Audited report. This report lists all transactions that have not been audited through Pacioli 2000's auditing module. With this report, you can know at a glance which transactions need to be researched and verified. This report can be especially helpful when reconciling statements. Now we'll look at the Trial Balance report. This report should be run every day after the posting process is completed. This report gives you the beginning balances for each account, the total of debits and credits for the period covered, and the net balances as of the last posting. This report will give you a quick picture of your company's financial position. The other accounts reports, the balance history, the budget versus actual, and the chart of accounts are selected according to these same procedures. For more information on the purpose of these reports, consult your user manual. Now let's examine some of the receivable-payable reports in Pacioli 2000. There are 5 reports available to you in the Receivable-Payable Reports section. One of the most important of these is the monthly statements. Monthly statements are especially important as a communication with your customers. Even if a customer has no current balance, Pacioli 2000 can send that customer a statement with a personal message from you indicating how much you value their business. This monthly reminder can often encourage additional sales. Also, statements help improve monthly collections. Finally, they help keep your book straight by helping correct mistakes and discover fraud. Believe me, if a customer gets a statement with an incorrect balance or without a paid payment listed, you'll hear about it. And like all the other Pacioli 2000 forms, monthly statements give your company the image of organization and efficiency you want to project. To print monthly statements, select Receivable Payable from the Reports menu. Click on Monthly Statements in the Reports selection box. Select the parent account range for the statements you want. Select the Sort field from the Sorted By box. This selection tells Pacioli 2000 how to organize the reporting of your statements. If you have customers on different payment cycles, sort on cycle. In the range box, indicate the from and to limits of the sort. For example, if you sorted on cycles, indicate the starting and ending cycles to be reported. In the ranked box, indicate how you want the statements ranked within the sort. For example, if you selected Sorted by Cycle and Ranked by Name, the monthly statements will be organized by cycle number. Then, within each cycle, the statements will be in alphabetical order by name. In the range box, indicate any range you want for the Ranked By field. For example, you could limit the statements to only accounts with names from A to M. Now enter the closing date for the statements, usually the current date. Click on the Options command. Although Pacioli 2000 comes with prepared messages for statements, you may modify those messages here. Once you've made any changes you wish, select OK to return to the report screen. Now select OK here and check the alignment of your forms. Once you click on the OK command, your monthly statements will be professionally printed. Once you've printed your statements, you'll want to print an aging report to indicate how many of your accounts receivables are past due and to what degree they are past due. You can also print this report for your accounts payable to indicate how you stand with your vendors. This report gives you a good indication of your business's cash flow. Regular attention to this report is important. To print this report, follow the same rules as in statements, but let's stop at the option screen. There are 6 columns on the report that you can use to cluster account invoices by their age. In the Days To boxes, you'll indicate these clusters beginning with the oldest in column 1. The column 1 From field is 9,999, indicating the oldest invoices on record. In the To field, enter the ending days for this oldest cluster. The default is 121 days. Notice that the From field for the second column is based on the ending day of the previous field. Continue setting the column ranges for each column. The defaults are the standard 120 plus, 90, 60, 30 days past due. The sixth column is 0 to minus 9,999 days, or all current invoices. Once all the column ranges are set, tab to the OK command and press the Enter key. Tab to the OK command on the report screen and press the Enter key to move to the Output screen. Select the output format and begin the reporting. The other receivable payable reports are the Customer and Vendor Directory, the Customer and Vendor Labels, and 1099 forms. Your user manual contains detailed information on these reports. The Product Service Reports section provides you with 8 reports that help you control and utilize your inventory. One of the most important of these product service reports is the Activity Report. This report gives you sales and purchase information on each product selected. You're also given product location and the current on-hand stock by unit. This report can quickly identify slow-moving or hot products. To print this report, click on Activity Report from the selection box. Now select the parent inventory accounts to report. Service accounts are printed before products, since services do not have parent accounts. Select the primary sort from the Sort By box. Select the Sort By range. select the secondary sort, or the sort within the sort, from the ranked by box, and indicate the ranked by range. Now click on the Options command. Enter the report heading you want and click on the OK command to save these selections. Click on the OK command again to bring up the output screen. Indicate the format of the output and click on OK to begin the reporting. The Product Service Report selection box includes inventory labels. These labels can be used at physical inventory time as count cards, or these labels can be put on product racks to indicate prices to the customer. Other reports available are the Product Alert Report, the Historical Report, the Product or Service Catalog, the Product or Service Price List, Inventory Count Sheets, and the Detail by Lots Report. Your user manual contains additional detail on each of these reports. In addition to the reports pre-designed in Pacioli 2000, you have the option to design your own reports through Pacioli 2000's Report Generator. To use the Report Generator, select the Generator option from the Reports menu. There are three options to select from: columns, lines, and process. To use the Report Generator, select the Process option to combine a column design you've created with a line design you've created to get a custom designed report. If you select Process, you'll see that Pacioli 2000 has many standard accounting report formats pre-designed for you. All you'll usually need to do is highlight the report you want. For example, to print the important balance sheet for the year to date, click on that selection. Now click on the OK command. Select the output you want and click on the OK command to get this important financial statement. An important note here is that these pre-designed reports use the Pacioli 2000 standard chart of accounts. If you build your own chart of accounts or modify the one provided, you'll also have to modify these column and line designs. Detailed instructions are found in the Pacioli 2000 user manual. Regular use of the Pacioli 2000 report section will help you better manage your business and consequently improve your company's bottom line. There are additional options available in Pacioli 2000 that make it a well-rounded, complete accounting system. These options include the auditing module, where you verify the accuracy of transactions; the new prices module, which allows you to enter new sales or purchase prices in a quick, efficient manner; the physical inventory module, which allows you to quickly enter into Pacioli 2000 the results of your regularly scheduled physical inventory; the budgeting module, which helps you plan future revenues and expenses to better manage your business; and the automatic interest generating module, which allows you to apply the interest you charge customers who have outstanding balances. Each of these modules is carefully and thoroughly explained in your Pacioli 2000 user manual. However, let's take a look at one of the most frequently used modules, the auditing module. You'll want to use this module to regularly audit the accuracy of all accounts. Probably the most frequently audited account will be your checking account. You want to audit this account every time you receive a bank statement. Once you get your bank statement, go to the auditing option of the options menu. In the date field, enter the last date of the period. This is necessary because you can only audit on the last day of a period. Enter the checking account number. All unaudited transactions will be displayed in the body of the screen. Since this is a checking account audit, the balance versus statement field is automatically entered as yes. Now, enter the checking account balance as it appears on the statement. The cursor now moves to the bottom of the screen. Use the arrow keys or the mouse to highlight each transaction. You can check mark these transactions by using the space bar. This check mark is only a pencil check mark. Once you've pencil check marked all the transactions on the statement, see if the statement reconciles with your checking account by verifying that the audit balance and the statement balance are the same. If not, locate and correct the errors. You can exit the auditing module by pressing the escape key. Later, when you return, the pencil check marks will still be there. Do not exit by pressing the F10 process command. This changes the pencil check marks to ink check marks. This means that all ink check-marked transactions will no longer be available for view in the auditing screen. Only use the process command when you have finished entering adjustments. Again, see your manual for additional detail on the auditing module. We have now completed our survey of Pacioli 2000. The companion user manual for Pacioli 2000 contains additional details on all the information covered in this videotape. In our next program, we'll introduce some basic MS-DOS concepts. Welcome to the third program of Pacioli 2000's Video Tutor. Here we'll show you how to use MS-DOS in your day-to-day activities. MS-DOS-based computers are actually easy to understand and simple to use. In this program, we'll describe what MS-DOS is, what it does, and most important of all, how to use it. Let's first look at what the initials MS-DOS stand for. The MS stands for Microsoft, the company that wrote MS-DOS. The D stands for disk, and the OS stands for operating system. Operating systems are go-betweens. That is, an operating system goes between software, such as Pacioli 2000, and the internal workings of the computer. We can think of this as similar to the structure of the Army. In the Army, there are three basic groups: the officers, the non-commissioned officers, or the sergeants, and the troops. The officers create the orders, the sergeants relay the orders, and the troops carry out the orders. The sergeants are particularly important because they must not only relay the orders, they must also monitor the troops as the orders are carried out. The workings of your PC are very similar to this. Software packages are like officers. MS-DOS is the sergeant, and the insides of our computer, the troops. For example, maybe we want to print a budget from Pacioli 2000. As quickly as we issue the print command in Pacioli 2000, MS-DOS takes over. MS-DOS helps Pacioli 2000 find the budget on our disk. Then, MS-DOS tells the printer to get ready. Finally, MS-DOS routes the output from the budget to the printer. Of course, all we see is our budget being printed beautifully. To summarize, MS-DOS is a specialized bit of software that helps control the internal workings of a computer. There's one other letter in the name MS-DOS that we haven't discussed yet, the D. The D, standing for disk, refers to one of the most important functions of MS-DOS, disk operations. As we move to Chapter 2, we'll discuss one of these disk operations, disk organization. Whenever you use Pacioli 2000 or any other computer software, you will create information that you'll want to save. In the computer world, the best place to save this information is on a magnetic disk. Information that is saved on a disk has the generic name file. A file can be a group of Pacioli 2000 accounting transactions, or a file can be a word processing document. A file can be a set of instructions to the computer, or a file can be a huge database of information. No matter what, when you save information to a disk, that information is called a file. Now, since we've learned that files can contain almost any kind of information, and that everything we save to a disk is a file, we might begin to see that our disks can get very cluttered. Helping to keep all these files organized is a job of MS-DOS. MS-DOS allows us to create designated areas on our disk for the storage of related files. These designated areas have a generic name, directories. Now, when we want to find a specific file, we simply look in the directory holding that file. Now, when a disk is used for the first time, it only has one directory, called the root directory, because as additional directories are created, a tree-like structure is built. When we add Pacioli 2000 to our disk, we'll create a branch directory off of the root called Pacioli, where all the Pacioli program files will be stored. Now, from the Pacioli branch directory, normally called a subdirectory, we might want to create additional directories for each of our companies. Let's say we own two companies, Joe's Camera Shop and Mary's Gym. We then might create under Pacioli two directories, Joe and Mary. As we do transaction for Joe's Camera Shop, the transaction files will be stored in the directory Joe. The transaction files for Mary's Gym will be saved to the directory Mary. Each of these storage places is found under the parent directory Pacioli. Of course, Pacioli's parent is the root directory. The pathway from the root directory to the Mary directory will always take us through the Pacioli directory. This is just like a tree where water from the roots must always follow the same path to the higher branches. We'll use this concept of path when we learn to change from one directory to another. Now, let's turn to a more in-depth discussion of directories and the files that are found in directories. When we first turn on our computer, the computer performs some self-checks to make sure that all its parts are working. We know this is happening because the computer beeps a few times. If everything checks out, the computer will look for DOS and load it into the computer's memory ready for us to use. We know that DOS is in the computer's memory when we see this prompt on the screen. This C and greater than sign is called a prompt because DOS is telling us it's ready to work. DOS uses letters of the alphabet to identify disk drives. The C normally means we're using a hard disk. If we were using a floppy disk drive, the prompt would be an A or B instead of a C. Now notice the flashing underscore next to the prompt. This is called the cursor, a Latin word for runner, because as we type on the screen, the cursor runs across the screen, showing where the next typed character will appear. We're now ready to enter our first DOS command. Let's look at the files in our root directory by typing the DOS command dir for directory and pressing the enter key to tell DOS to carry out the command. DOS first tells us the name of the disk drive. Then DOS tells us the name of the directory we're in. Here the backslash is the symbol for the root directory. Below this are the files and directories in our root directory. Notice the entry Pacioli has the abbreviation dir next to it. This means that Pacioli is not a file, but a directory. Also notice the entry autoexec_bat. This is the name of a file. The word autoexec_bat stands for automatically executed batch file. You might ask, why is the name shortened to autoexec_bat? Well, in DOS, file names are limited to 8 or less of these characters, followed by an optional period or dot and an extension containing up to 3 more of these same characters. Next to the file name is a number indicating the approximate number of characters in that file. Next, DOS displays the date and time the file was last modified. The normal computer screen will display only 25 lines of information. So whenever the list of files in a directory is very long, the first files will scroll off the screen before there is time to read their information. We can make the directory list pause when the screen is full by adding a /p to the dir command. Then, after we've examined the current screen of information, we press any key to see the next screen. We can also see a large directory all at once by adding a /w to the dir command. Of course, this display of files only shows file names without the additional information normally found in the directory list. The /p and /W are examples of parameters. DOS also allows us to use the asterisk and the question mark as special parameters called wildcards. The question mark can be substituted for 1 character. The asterisk can be substituted for up to 8 characters. For example, suppose we want to find a file that begins with the letter T in a large directory. We can type DIRT asterisk to get a list of all the files in the directory that begin with a T. This makes it easier to find the file we want. Now, say we want to list all the files with 2 characters or less in their name. Typing question mark dot asterisk will give us this list. Now, type dir asterisk dot to display files that normally have no extension. Wildcards are a helpful tool to speed up tasks in DOS. But what if the file we want is not in the root directory or on this disk? To check out another disk, say a floppy disk, we simply type A: to change to the floppy drive. Then a dir will show us what's in that disk's directory. Once we're through with the floppy, we'll enter C: to change back to the hard disk. Now let's see how to change from the root to another directory on a disk. Our directory list shows us that we have a directory called Pacioli that is a branch off the root. We can change to this directory by simply typing the DOS command cd for change directory, a backslash, and then the name of the directory, Pacioli. As quick as that, we have moved from the root to the Pacioli directory. To return to the root from any place, we'll simply type cd space backslash and enter. The change directory command gives us complete control over our movements within our directories. Frequently, we'll find it necessary to create a new directory. For example, let's say we want to add the Mary directory we mentioned earlier to the Pacioli directory. This is a simple task in DOS. First, we must change to the directory we want to branch out from, in this case, Pacioli. Then we use the DOS command md, which stands for make directory, followed by a space and the name of the new directory, in this case, Mary. A directory list will show us that indeed Mary has been added as a directory 1 level below Pacioli. Now let's change to the Mary directory. A directory listing here shows that the Mary directory contains no files except the dot and double dot, 2 housekeeping files found in every directory except the root. Of course, we can continue to create directories as long as we wish. However, since each directory takes up several thousand characters on a disk, we'll want to use some planning as we create our directories. If we ever find ourselves with an empty directory such as Mary, we may want to remove it from our directory structure. To do this, we first need to move to Mary's parent directory, Pacioli. Then we simply type the command rd for remove directory and a space, followed by the name of the directory, in this case, Mary. As quick as that, the empty directory Mary is removed from our directory structure. When a file in a given subdirectory is no longer needed, we can remove it from the disk. We can do this same thing directly in DOS by using the DOS del command, which is short for delete. Suppose we want to delete the file sample text from our root directory. We simply type del followed by a space and the name of the file, in this case sample text. As quick as that, the file is deleted. We could also use the wildcards asterisk and question mark with the delete command. Of course, careless use of the wildcards can result in deletion of files we really want to keep. A good safeguard is to first enter the directory command with the wildcard. Then examine the list of files. These will be the files deleted if we substitute the delete command for the directory command. If these are the files we want to delete, then we type the delete command and the files disappear. Once a file is deleted, DOS offers us no way to undelete the file. However, utility software packages such as Norton Utilities, PC Tools, and the Mace Utilities allow for the undeletion of files. For these programs to work, their undelete commands should be used as soon as possible after the mistaken deletion. Another DOS file command that we'll use often is the copy command. This command is used to copy files from one directory to another or from one disk to another. To make the copy, all we need to do is type copy followed by a space and the name of the file we want to copy. If we want to copy Transpac to a floppy disk in drive A, we simply type another space and type the destination as A:. The wildcards will also work with the copy command. Sometimes we'll want to copy all the files from our hard disk to floppy disks. To do this, we'll need some formatted disks. To format a new floppy disk, simply enter format, a space, and the disk drive containing the new disk, normally A:. DOS will prompt us to be sure this is what we want to do. A yes will start the formatting. Depending on the type of drive, this process takes about half a minute. Repeat this task as many times as necessary. Once you've formatted all your new disks, you're ready to begin the process of copying all the files from your hard disk to these newly formatted floppy disks. This process, known as backing up, will protect us in the event some disaster happens to our hard disk. MS-DOS has a special command to help us back up our hard disk. The backup command makes this time-consuming task easier to endure. To back up all the root directory files on a C drive hard disk to an A drive floppy disk, at the C prompt we type backup, a space, the source of the backup, in this case C:**, another space, and the destination of the backup, in this case A:*. The asterisk dot asterisk can be called the universal wildcard because it means every file. Once we enter the command, DOS will give us this message. If the backup requires more than one disk, and most backups usually do, DOS will prompt us when the current disk is full, and it's time to insert a new disk in the floppy drive. So far, we've backed up only our root directory. Of course, most of the time, we'll want to back up all the files in all the directories on the hard disk. To do this, we'll type in a parameter, /s, to our previous backup command. This tells DOS to back up all the files in all the directories. To back up only the files in one directory and all its subdirectories, type backup space /Pacioli space and the /s. This backs up all the files in Pacioli and its subdirectories. Now, when we want to transfer our backed up files back to the hard disk, we'll use the DOS restore command. Enter the command restore, followed by a space, the name of the floppy drive, another space, and the destination drive, including the files you want to restore. In this case, the universal wildcard, followed by the /s for all directories. DOS then will prompt us to insert the first backup disk. DOS will continue to prompt us for new disks until all the files are restored. When the restore is completed, we'll have all our files ready for use. One of the most important commands in DOS is the path command. The path command allows DOS to search for commands and programs in identified directories without having to change directories. You can set the command by typing the word path, a space, and the directories you want DOS to search, separated by semicolons. Pacioli 2000 uses these two MS-DOS files to do backups and restores. Be sure to place the directory containing these two files in the path. Refer to the appendix of your Pacioli 2000 manual for details. When you sit down at a new computer, it helps to know what version of DOS is being used. The DOS VER command allows you to identify which version of DOS is being used. Simply type VER at the prompt. Another command for giving you information about your computer is the check disk command. If you type check disk at the prompt, DOS will show you the space available on your disk and the space available in memory. This information is helpful when loading new programs like Pacioli 2000. Another useful command in DOS is the clear screen command, abbreviated CLS. Just entering CLS will clear everything off the screen and leave the prompt and cursor at the top of the screen. Sometimes we will want a quick view of the information in a file. Let's say we want to look at one of our word processing documents without starting up the word processing program. If we type the command type, then a space, and the file's name, including the path, DOS will show us what's in the file. This works very well with many files, especially those files with DOC, TXT, and BAT extensions. Other files, such as those with EXE and COM extensions, will display some rather strange stuff on the screen. Of course, it never hurts to give the type command a try, and sometimes it can save a good amount of time. Let's move to our final topic. The AutoExec BAT and config sys files are special files that are found in almost every MS-DOS computer. The config sys file and the AutoExec BAT should always be left in the root directory of the disk. This is because DOS uses the information in these files every time the computer is turned on. In fact, the AutoExec BAT file can be used to automatically perform DOS tasks for us. One task that we'll want done for us every time we turn the computer on is the customizing of the DOS prompt. If we add this command to our AutoExec BAT file, then every time we power on the computer, the prompt will automatically be changed for us. Also, we'll want to add the path command to the AutoExec BAT file so that Pacioli 2000 can find the backup and restore commands. Of course, if you already have these commands in your AutoExec BAT file, you won't want to add them a second time. To change the AutoExec BAT file, we'll need to use DOS's text editor, Edlin. For step-by-step instructions on Edlin, see the appendix in your Pacioli 2000 manual. As we've seen, DOS is powerful, yet really quite simple to use. Well, in this video, we've provided you the tools to get you up and running with Pacioli 2000. For additional detailed information, be sure to consult the user manual and its appendices. As well, remember to utilize the extensive online help feature in Pacioli 2000. If you need to contact us, your manual contains instructions on how to do so. We hope you'll fully utilize the power and ease of Pacioli 2000. So long.